This grandpa's got to get his reading glasses, folks. So I'll be right back. I got to see my 3 pages of notes I wrote for Queensryche.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm back. Had to get my Sally Jesse Raphael reading glasses. So.
Yeah.
Look, we all have similar reading glasses. Look.
Yeah. Old age
Look
sucks.
at that.
Look at this. Hey, we're like Twinkies. We're a Twinkies 3-pack. Yeah.
We're men of a certain age.
Yeah.
We all have similar style and our spectacles. Oh man.
Oh,
That's
it's
funny.
gonna be great fun. Great fun today.
Yeah, don't mind me. I'll get all this sorted out.
He's got all of his fake tattoos. Ready to
Well,
go.
we're not worthy. We're not worthy, Vic. We're waiting on you. Yes.
Let me get my my fake sleeve on real quick.
Got the nice Born to Lose on there. Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
I draw it on with Sharpie every morning.
Vic
Our
used
eyes
to
are
have
going
the
back.
hair, but now
Reading
Vic's
glasses
got the
perched on
hair.
our noses.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm like an evil librarian.
Vic's
Yeah.
he's the pretty
We're-
one now.
We're real metal, aren't we?
Hey, man.
Real metal.
Where's my list? I got some notes.
Where's my oatmeal?
Damn it, no sugar today. My
Salt and sugar
pancreas
kicks your
can't
ass. It's
handle
time to get in the box. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I am Montag, master of illusion. What goes up must come down, but not always.
Hey, I'm Chop Top.
The Slunkmeister.
I'm Vic.
And you are listening to
Heavy
Metal.
I gotta work on that. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man.
So, well, yeah, I'll spearhead this. It's bottoms up, I believe, is what you guys refer to it as, and being that I'm a kind of a newbie here, I'm gonna assume that it is least favorite, worst to best. That's how I interpret it. It sounds
Right.
like the most logical
got it.
one.
Yep, that's it.
And yeah, I'm gonna lead this one because, in all honesty, my Queensryche knowledge is not great. While I am a fan of Queensryche, they lost me after a certain point. And for me, I didn't hop on YouTube and go through, all the albums. So what I did was I split my list into what is called the rest, because naturally I wrote my favorite to worst. So we're starting with the rest, which includes everything after Here and the Now, Frontier. For me,
wow.
I bought Here and the Now, and I believe that I like to work off of what I have in my own collection. I'm weird like that. Except for a few. I sought out the EP for a long time, and I could never find it used, but I know that one, and I do love that one. I just remember the last insult for me was Operation Mindcrime 2. I remember of course there's hype behind that. When you make a sequel record, that implies that the first one was awesome, which is fact. But it had some pretty big shoes to fill, and hearing it, I don't recall liking it. Now, as I had said in the previous interview, my tastes change over the years. I'm pretty sure I said that. If not, my tastes have changed over the years. So revisiting these things is probably a smart thing for me to do now that I haven't heard things in so long. So my list, like I said, is very short because out of what I own, Here and the Now Frontier is probably my least favorite. But back when I bought it, when I used to buy CDs, if I didn't immediately like them, or if they didn't grow, I spin them a few times, I had a very short attention span and a very short growth area for music, which is unfortunate. It's kind of stupid, but I liked it enough to keep it, which means something because younger me didn't hang on to stuff if there was one track on there that I thought made it decent or anything along those lines. So I did hang on to that one. So I marked it as my least favorite because there's nothing's popping out. I have the album, can't remember a single song on it. The next one for me is Rage for Order.
Hold on.
Oh, is that how we're doing this?
Yeah, we're going to do like one album at a time.
And one at a time. Okay, so
One
no,
round-
this
one
is
round
why
at a time.
So one round
I've
at a time.
ruined the whole thing because I
You took over the entire show.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
We're
my
gonna
show
go ahead
now.
It is the
Fire
Vic's
sale.
Down heavy metal horror show now. Okay, we
It's
get you,
the Vic
bigwig.
show all
We
of a
got you,
sudden.
big guy.
So yeah,
Okay.
no, maybe someone else should start with their least favorite, and I'll just
No,
jump in. I think that's probably better. I didn't know that's how this was going to work. That's
one
probably...
round, one album at a time.
Maybe you should explain that before we started to actually
Yeah,
record.
thought
that's
I
on
did.
me. That's on
Come
me.
on.
That's,
I thought I did.
Come on,
explain it.
Montag.
We are going to
Yeah,
start
so-
with our 15th or 16th rank album.
There you
Go
go.
around, tell what that rank album is, discuss why we don't like it or like it,
Okay.
and then we will. Once we all did our 15th or 16th album, we will then move up to 14th or 15th, however you're doing it, and then
Okay,
we
so
will
I'm going
work
to
our
jump
ways
in
up.
on. I'll jump in on 6. I mean, I'll have comments about the
Okay.
other ones, but
Sure,
6 is really that's my Queensryche list.
Hey,
6.
just ignore the rest of us here. We're just part of it.
Yeah,
So
Phil.
please, I am definitely excited
Yeah.
to jump in it with little comments and whatnot. but
Exactly, and that's
Absolutely.
how we do it. So
That's
Yep.
yeah, that sounds good to me.
Because I'm
So
sure we're
someone
going to
else-
have
someone
some.
else lead
We're going to
this
have
one.
some overlap like we did with Maiden, and we're going to
Yes.
have a lot of differences because I think the middle ones are going to be fine shades. know.
Right.
Mhm.
But yeah, anytime. So we'll just circle around. We know
Fair
your
enough.
bottom one is Here in the Now Frontier. That's
Right.
your bottom one. But as we discuss them, feel free to jump in. And
Absolutely.
discuss
Yeah,
what we
absolutely.
do. Cool.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Vic.
You're
Now,
welcome.
Vic, you'll say, okay, Slunkmeister, your turn.
Okay. It's your turn, Slunkmeister, since I miserably failed in my first bottoms up. Please.
hey, that's what makes it fun. This is a miserable failure on tape.
That's right. Nothing says success like miserable failure.
That's true.
And I'm recording all of it, so it may all just get right in there.
Glorious.
Yeah, why
warts
not?
and all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here we go. Number 16. So, okay, by way of full disclosure, like yourself, Vic, I stuck with Queensryche a lot longer than you did, but I did drift off after American Soldier. I hadn't listened to much after that until recently. Till we decided to do this show, I had to catch up on like 4 albums. And so I've been, listening to those. Obviously, the Tateless, Queensryche, his one,
Tateless.
Tateless.
It's taintless. It's tasteless. No, okay.
So yeah, that said, I'm going to go 16 for me is the Tate Full Queensryche. His one-off Frequency Unknown. To me, boring, uninspired, I just thought it was repetitive. Very, very repetitive. Yeah, that one didn't grab me at all. I got really, really bored with that. I struggled to get all the way through that album, to be honest. It just sounded pretty phoned in,
Okay.
all in all.
Mhm.
I
So,
now
yeah.
know which one I didn't use.
You didn't do... Oh, well, we got...
No, not that one. I think
Oh.
the fucking EP.
Oh,
Oh, the EP that we're just
Yeah,
talking
like-
about.
Oh,
I'm like, look
and
at
I even texted you about that a couple days ago. Are we still using the EP?
Yeah, I'm
And
like,
I-
yeah, 'cause I was
yeah, we're
just
just not doing the
thinking about-
covers album, but you fucking forget it. Okay, it's all right.
I'm like, yeah, where's that go? And then I kind of got lost and everything else. I'm looking at my list, like, fuck, I don't have the EP. Like,
Wow. Old guys try to work on the internet and talk about stuff. This is a disaster.
where's my medication?
Hey, I smell cinnamon rolls.
Cool
Yeah.
the meatloaf.
ED, why are we talking about that? I don't need that. Who has time for boners?
yeah, really. No, that's for real.
So, Chop. Let's pass it on to you.
Bring it
Let's
back.
keep this.
Bring it back.
Let's keep this rolling.
I'll bring
here.
it back. We're bringing it full circle, guys. So my number 16 is dedicated to Chaos. On my notes, it was released in 2011. It's power pop at times, almost. Nothing recognizable or redeeming. There's horns in some of the songs. I'm like, what?
Oh,
And juvenile song titles. I have like Hot Spot Junkie and Retail Therapy and Loving
Yeah.
You, spelled differently. What We Do, WOT. Big Noise with the Z in it. It's like, oh my
yeah.
God.
Cringy.
Actually, I had in there fucking dumpster fire. That's what I put. So that's absolutely just god awful. So that's
Fair.
my number 16.
I'm right there with you, Chop Top. That's my bottom rung too. I remember hearing Jeff Tate try to talk about this, saying that it was music for your background. Like everyone's listening to music on their Walkmans, they're not paying attention to it anymore. Not Walkmans, whatever the fuck they listen to now.
Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah,
Your boom boxes. Everybody got their
young whippersnappers.
in your blasters with large cassette players.
Oh,
People are listening to it, and it's like background music. It's the music of your life, and it's meant to be not paid attention to. I'm thinking, is that really what you want to say?
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's
not a
much
sales
record.
pitch, man. That's
Really, boy.
Yeah,
that's a giving up thing. That's wearing a white flag right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hated
Ugh.
those cutesy spellings as well. I had those notes, the same exact songs.
Yeah.
And I hated the same songs, Hotspot Junkie. Like Queensryche was always called like the thinking man's band or the thinking
Right.
person's band. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, boy, they're just really not thinking here.
Yeah.
A couple of the tracks aren't horrible, but what it's missing, it's like the new sound. It's not Queensryche at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Totally
if
agree.
there were decent songs that didn't sound like Queensryche, I could say okay, but it's not a good album. It was certainly one that will be in the background of my life. But that's number 16 for me as well. So
Welcome to the show.
back to you, Vic, or do we go back to the Slunkmeister?
Yeah, no, that's
gonna-
those ones are also my 16 because I only have 6 and the rest of them are 16. That's how I feel about Queensryche's discography. So yeah, back to
Well,
Slunkmeister.
Yeah, we'll stay on that then because that was my 15, dedicated to chaos. Yeah. It was like sound wise, it was a step back into the here and the now frontier, but it had like nothing redeeming about it though. I thought here in the now frontier at least had a few tracks that were catchy, and
Yeah.
after I went back to that album, okay, it's not as bad as I originally thought, but
Mhm.
yeah, dedicated to chaos, just really, really bad. There's a couple tracks Around the World I thought was kind of cool. That was a good track. A little bit ironic, the message of was a bit ironic considering what happens right after this with the band. This message of love. All you need is love, and all this stuff. And then,
What you do. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's 15 for me. I'm with you there. Terrible album. Chop Top. What do you got at 15?
I have number 15, Frequency Unknown.
Okay.
I said it could have been interchangeable with my worst pick. Nothing redeeming. Really, really reaching, I thought. It's a band that really reaching. Obviously he didn't have the other original members in it, but he's really reaching to get back his old. Matter of fact, so much to get the old fan base back that they re-recorded 4 classic songs. I think Rudy Sarzo was on bass, and Simon Wright on drums. I don't know who to get the guitar work offhand, but he was really reaching. I think, and plus they were in that legal battle about the name at that time.
Yep.
Because we'll get to a later album that was released at the same time with the other original members. So.
Right. That album. Right. We'll talk more about that. Mine's a little higher. That was a little higher for me, but I totally understand why you'd say that. There was an acrimonious split, which really pulled me in 2 different directions because I like the band, and it's like from either point of view, both sides were dicks, and I didn't want to believe that anyone in that battle, the band was dicks. So it was hard to say which one do I like more. Do I want to hear Jeff Tate or do I want to hear these, Queensryche? So I totally get that. I love the album cover though for Frequency Unknown, which we'll talk once we get about. But my 15 pick is actually the non Jeff Tate Queensryche from 2013. With LaTorte singing, and so I thought, since Tate was sending a big message to them, it was almost like here's Queensryche saying the same thing back to Jeff Tate, but here's the new trophy wife. Here's LaTorte.
Yeah.
We got a guy who sounds like you did 30 years ago. So
Right.
suck it, old man.
Yeah, he was a really good replacement. They did very well recruiting him,
Wow.
or however that worked
And
out.
he sounds amazing. Nope, nothing against him at all. And the solos are classic. They're really solid. I just found that album kind of boring. The first Queensryche, 2013.
So
Just a little bit of, just not really adventurous, just kind of there. And I
Yeah.
really hate the production value. The drum sounds are just shit. Not as bad as other albums coming at the test, but just overproduced, and
Yeah.
they don't sound like drums, man.
I remember hearing a single from it and wanting to like it, because as far as I'm concerned, I think that Tate sort of has lost his edge, which happens. That's a given. A lot of guys can't sound like they did 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Especially when you're a vocalist like him, it's very easy to lose the ability to hit those highs and to maintain that level of musicianship with your voice. It's difficult. It's probably harder to maintain a voice than it is to maintain, playing. And when the two started doing their things, simultaneously, there's a key component missing, and the same thing happened with Kix. You remember Kix?
Yeah.
When Kix split up, they formed two bands. They formed Funny Money and like Chester's Garage or something like that. I don't know. The other one didn't do anything. That didn't do as much as Funny Money, but Funny Money was essentially Kix. But the guy who wrote all of the hits, every awesome Kix song, if you're a Kix fan, every Kix song you like wasn't in either band. And that same thing happened with Queensryche, because I'm pretty sure, what is it, Steve DeGarmo? Is that how you say his name?
Chris
I
DeGarmo.
don't think
Yeah,
Chris. Is it Chris?
Yeah.
Well, he
He's
left
not-
a long time ago.
Dude, that's for me. That's kind of what happened there. Was those two dudes played off each other so well. You take one element of that out of there, and it's just there's something missing. There's a void there. And those two guitar players were perfect together. And when one of them left, the sound changed. I don't know if that, sometime maybe that guy didn't have a hand in writing at all, but there was a magic there, and it wasn't there after that dude left. So that's and when they did the Queensryche thing where they kind of, I don't know, they were Queensryche again and Jeff Tate wasn't. It was missing that to me, that magic. Because
it's funny, but
go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. His last album with DeGarmo was Promised Land. So right after that was Here in the Now Frontier. So you obviously heard the difference without even realizing the change in the band. But yeah, DeGarmo was the chief songwriter for that band.
Okay, see, I wasn't even aware of that.
See, I thought Here in the Now Frontier was actually Slunkmeister, the last one with DeGarmo. That's what I had.
Oh, was it? I'm sorry, I could be wrong there.
He was the last one, and then you could even tell, we dropped off from Promised Land to that. You could tell those things were starting to go sour, and he wanted to get out of that. It just
that's interesting. Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yep, you're right.
I'm looking.
Very
it was
strange.
within. It's in arm's reach
change.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Oh, is it? It's not my turn, right?
If you guys we're just talking about, it's cool.
We're just discussing. Go ahead.
No, I was just interjecting that because I can't pick up because I failed this one miserably.
Well, I'll jump in.
For number 14,
Montag, because it's also Queensryche, the 2013. So,
okay,
I'm with you there.
We're all overlapping.
I could kind of hear what they were shooting for on that album, but it fell.
Right.
It just fell apart. Like they didn't quite get there.
Right.
At times it felt like classic Queensryche. At times it felt like newer Queensryche, and in the end, it didn't achieve. I don't know anything.
Yeah, there were nice moments, but it wasn't very cohesive. It was like a return to something, but I agree. It just didn't gel enough. But it was still nice to hear those vocals, and like, how could someone sing so powerfully and as
Latour is amazing. I was blown away,
and the vibrato style and everything. And
it's actually a little higher on my list, guys, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, and that was I was torn. I didn't want to like these albums, but it's like, it's like listening to Maiden, when
Blaze
Blaze Bailey was singing for them.
What's his face?
It was
Bailey?
hard.
Oh.
It was hard because Bruce's albums were so much better, But
right,
the whether it's true or not, always. I mean, the vocalist is the face of the band. Oh, I'll wait for you, Joe. Hold on.
Sorry, guys.
Going to the bathroom, Joe?
No, I'm not going to take you with me. Not yet. That's for a special moment later. But
Operation Mindcrime 2. It shouldn't have even been released as a sequel. It's not interesting. There's not an interesting continuation of the original concept. The chase, even with Ronnie James Dio, couldn't even save it.
I couldn't even find that track. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to find him on there, and I was like, "Where the hell is he? He's supposed to be on this
Yeah, it's on
record."
the chase. It was a duet with Tate.
Okay.
Reportedly, I just read about this earlier. Reportedly, Jeff recorded it with session players due to conflict with the band at that time. Even
I heard that. I had heard that.
Yeah,
I
so
heard they
Roger
recorded it
Steele's not
on a
on it.
tour bus.
Michael Wilton's, none of them. So
Well, it sounds like it was recorded on a bus.
At times.
Poor production quality.
It's very
Like a
Shitty.
Greyhound or like a school bus.
I heard they recorded it on their tour bus, like on their back of their bus or something.
Oh,
Like,
legitimately, that's not a
sense.
joke. Yeah,
no,
probably.
that's what I read. I'm like, seriously, that's what you're going to be putting out, huh?
How about that art? Let's talk about that art.
But mine's a little higher up, Operation Mindcrime 2, but it's a terrible production. Mid-rangey, the bad mix, it's inconsistent. The Dio is undermixed. It's a muddy arrangement. There are a couple good songs, but I'll wait till when it hits my pick to talk about them. But I agree, man. It's like when I first. It's a shit wipe. That's all it is. It's bad album,
Not
man.
gonna talk about it.
Need more paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's me quietly moving it up my list. Okay. No, I'm leaving it where it's at. I have a slightly different opinion,
Right.
but we'll get to it.
Yep.
I'm standing my ground.
Yeah, I didn't like
That's
it.
fine.
It was
That's
a
fine.
stinker. Also in my 16,
Yeah.
Operation Mindcrime 2.
My number 14 is The Verdict.
Oh yeah.
Overproduced, drums sound fake, the cymbals are non-existent, the live, too many tracks sound really thin, like it's a bootleg. There are a couple of decent tracks. I think Light Years, Dark Reverie, and Bent are not bad, but I hate the overproduced sound. It kind of they took a step backward from the middle album of the three with Latort, but it just sounds so overproduced and fake, and it just I can't get past what they do to the drums. Like, I don't know who the fuck is mixing that. I'm talking to you, sound engineer, whoever the fuck you are. Leave the goddamn drums sounding like drums.
One way to trigger you is to have a bad drum mix.
Yep, that's true.
You will hate any album that has a bad drum mix.
Hey man, drums are
But
important.
I hear you. They
you know,
are.
and
St. Anger's, good representation of that.
Oh man.
well, it was just
Ting, 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 ting.
a very interesting choice for having a snare drum sound like a big metal can, but
Yeah.
It was cutting edge. It was cutting edge.
Mhm.
Very forward thinking.
Yeah, he's always been a groundbreaker, you know. That guy.
Well, his drum sounds are
Smart.
really inconsistent. Look at with the drum sounds on And Justice for All, it's all muted and really crisp and thin. And then you got the big sloppy wet sounds from Master of Puppets. There's just, I don't know what is up with whoever mics his drums, but
He just likes to
it's
create.
like Nico McBrain. Like, he's got this huge drum set, but it's rarely mic'd so that it sounds good. It's all thuddy and low end. Like, come on, man, you got this gorgeous kit. Can't you make it sound good? I know you're working with the top of the line Sonar or DW or whatever it was.
Right,
Come
yeah.
on. You got to have a decent sound engineer who knows what a
No
fucking
excuse.
drum set's supposed to sound like. Exactly. No excuse. Not at this level of the game. If I can take two microphones and mic my drum set and make it sound better than your 13-piece drum kit, then that's on you, man.
All right.
Off of my high horse.
Matter
Number
time.
14. The Verdict.
The old man shaking his fist. Okay.
No
Now
soup
that
for
that's
you
over
today.
with,
I'm gonna need some.
you need a diaper change.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, what? Where are we?
13.
That was
That was 14.
that was your
Yeah.
14.
That was my 14. Now we're on 13.
Okay. Do you want to add anything here, Vic?
Nope, just still in that 16 for me.
Okay, still in
all
16. Okay, so yeah, 13 for me here in the Now Frontier. And I hated this album when it first came out. It was such a departure. Promised Land
Yeah.
was different, but it was still Queensryche. Here in the Now Frontier wasn't Queensryche to me anymore. That's when they started to slide for me. But I don't know. Going back and listening to it, I'm not quite as critical. There's more there that grabs my attention and
Yeah.
gets me nodding a little bit. So that's why it's not so bad on the list, but 13 is still pretty bad. So still, all in all, not a great Queensryche album.
Right.
It would be a nice, that would have been a nice solo album for one of the members to go do a solo thing, for Jeff Tate to go do a solo album and do that. That would have been like a
Right.
Bruce Dickinson solo album to me, but
Well, Bruce
okay.
Dickinson's solo albums they're a cut above.
they're
Yeah,
excellent.
they're
Yeah,
higher.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to diminish Bruce's solo stuff because it's great.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, I might have misspoke there. Thanks for correcting me. So that's 13 for me. Chop. What do you got?
My number 13 is American Soldier. I have respect for them including the real audio on many songs with veterans, and as a concept album. I thought it had pretty solid production, considering, except for maybe the snare drum on many songs, on some of them. But it's like so much in the latter tape period, I don't reach one. As a matter of fact, I sold those out. I was just that was the last one I really gave a shot. I wanted to like it. I really, really did. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it.
Wow.
Nothing I can remember from it, none I'd reach for, nothing I'd just go jam in the car to, or work or something. I just could not do it. And trust me, it bothered me because me and Montag saw that show, and it was a great show. It really was a good show. We were right at the soundboard, House of Blues, Cleveland, very memorable. That's when they did their trilogy suite, I think Rage for Order and songs from Empire and even that, and it was really a great show. But
yeah,
man, that album I just couldn't.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right, my 13 is Here in the Now Frontier. I agree with everything that's been said about it. There are some songs that are good. I like Sign of the Times. I like The Voice Inside and Some People Fly, especially. I think those are really nice songs. Hero is up there, but overall, it's a thin album. It doesn't really sound. It's like, yeah, they were sliding. Something happened creatively that I'm not going to completely diss it. But there are some songs. It just I saw them on that tour as well, and it just something.
I saw them with you, Montag.
Yeah, Blossom, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I agree. 13 for me is Here in the Now Frontier. Vic, anything you want to say about that?
No, because it's that particular record that clocks in at number 6. I mean, because I just didn't explore latter records. Then that's the only thing I want to interject there. I mean, because we can keep this thing moving instead of me talking about how I didn't further myself after that just because it just seemed like it wasn't going to get better. And that's unfair for me. That's judgy of me, but there's a reason for that. And we'll get to that later on. So back to Slunkmeister.
Yeah, it was a big change. I think, it's kind of like a Black Album or something. It's like, okay, this is not the same band that I've,
a lot of bands.
for years.
What was the release date on that? Early 90s, yes?
Black Album, like 92?
Here in the Now Frontier?
Here in the Now, yeah.
Oh, Here in the Now,
97.
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty late. You would have thought they would have made everybody kind of was doing that in the earlier 90s.
Yeah, you're right.
That you would have thought that transition would have been more prominent, 94, 93, 95, not necessarily 97, because a lot of the bands from the 80s in 97 particularly released a bunch of good music. So that's kind of a weird thing that they kind of went that route in the mid late 90s, like kind of the change was more prominent there than it was earlier.
My 12. Okay, for me, 12 is The Verdict. This is one of those weird albums where it's not bad, but it's not good. It's just kind of falls somewhere in between. The songs all kind of blend together. The thing I do like about it is it's trying to be more classic Queensryche sounding.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some cool stuff going on there. There's some pretty good guitar work in there and stuff. Yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty strong album all in all, but not something I'm going to go back to a whole lot and give it a re-listen very often. But again, Latour is an amazing Jeff Tate. I mean, he reminds me of Ripper Owens, taking over for Halford. It's just like, God, it's alone, it's amazing.
Yeah. Right.
And in certain ways better, than the current Tate.
Right.
Not quite back to original Tate, but
right.
Yeah. And I think it's just normal. as people age, their voices are going to change.
Sure.
And
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
against Jeff Tate. It's nothing against him. It's just age. That's all.
Right.
And you just can't hit those notes like you used to.
Well, I think it's singing style. It's like, so that's a hard one to maintain. If you look at all the guys who did that, like, I mean, Don Dokken sounds terrible now, and he had a great voice back in the '80s. You know, like he sounds awful now. A lot of those guys, Bon Jovi. You ever heard Bon Jovi now? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a bad voice, but you know whose voice is exactly the same and perfect? Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper wrote stuff that his voice just worked with, and he can't. He delivered. He sounds great every time. You know, Vince Neil ain't sounding like Vince Neil anymore. I mean, yeah, Bruce Dickinson's maintained his voice. You know,
It's
so
Vince Neil, not Vince Neil. Vince Neil. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh man,
I get it, man.
Yeah.
All right,
good-
that was
good call.
number 12 for Slunkmeister. How about
Yeah.
you, Chopped Up?
Number 12 for me was Here in the Now Frontier. This
Okay.
was the last album with their Garmo. They were trying too hard, I think, to fit in with the 90s trends. A lot of those songs were kind of almost trendy with the songwriting style, I think, in the guitar, styles. Sign of the Times was, I like Hit the Black, Spool. That was good. Again, like we talked about, I saw him on this tour with Montag. And I remember Jeff even said on stage he had a cold. So it's kind of disappointing. He couldn't get even near the stuff but I gave respect because he still tried to give it his best. But yeah, they just tried too hard. They were reaching here at this point. Obviously, there was something, we talked about it before, going on there with DeGarmo and the band. He was absolutely more than ready to leave by the sounds of it. And just wasn't up to
the chemistry was gone here.
Yeah.
It really feels like the chemistry is gone on this album.
You
Really
got to
kind of
wonder
a
how
phoned in.
many times bands have a contractual obligation to put an album out, and they don't feel like creating. They don't have anything good, but they're like,
right.
shit,
Yeah.
we got to write something. The record company's breathing down our backs. Let's just put something out.
Or like Kiss can put out like 20, 25 different, compilation albums, so just to fulfill something.
And if
That's
they're
one
not
of the
getting
others.
along,
Right.
then they're also like, they're looking back in their catalog because they record more songs and write more songs than they get on a record.
Right.
So you have all this material. It's like, let's throw something together.
And that works sometimes. It works for Metallica, like revisiting, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, or Forced, what the hell is it called? Hardwired. A lot of those riffs were I swear, like not used and Justice riffs. So that's a very real thing, like revisiting. But did they do that? Like on that particular release, did Queensryche do that? Because like, what was it heralding back to? If they had unused material, it's either just we don't have room for it, or it's not on the record for a reason.
Right.
So when you're loading up an album of unused material, that's the shittier variety. It's
Right.
And there again, like if you're contractually obligated, who cares? But you can also put out like live and best ofs. That's also that's not quite as bad.
Well, their last live album was pretty shitty too. That was a bad recording. That was Art of Live or whatever it was. That's a bad album.
Yeah, that was awful.
But I get.
Let me retract that. Say live albums from when they sounded good. There we go.
Yeah, because they had that couple of really good live albums, the Tokyo,
right?
And then the huge one, the big suite. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's a fantastic live album. So, well, since I'm gabbing, my number 12 was Operation Mindcrime 2, and the only reason why it's not lower is because I listened to it again because it used to be my bottom rung until Dedicated to Chaos came out. It was just because the production value was just so shitty. But there are a couple songs that are really pretty good. I like Hands, Sign Say Go, and then the two that really bring it for me is If I Could Change It All and an International Confrontation, because we have Sweet Sister Mary back, that singer, and those two songs capture the essence of Operation Mindcrime enough for me that says, okay, if I could just have like these 4 or 5 songs, I can listen to these 4 or 5 songs because that's
fair enough.
For me. But as a whole, the story's not that good. It's a lot of a couple of little really short tracks, like minute long here and there. It's not a really great album as a whole. And the production value is just horrible. It's just awful. So there's my number 12, Operation Mindcrime 2. Vic, you got anything more to say about that one?
I hated that album art. I just remember there was tongues, right? There's tongues on it. Is that right?
Yeah,
Oh.
like from the side view, or
It's just
like
nothing about it. There was just
You're
Give
right.
it away, give it away, give it away
Yeah,
now.
like
Does look
yeah, what's
I never know. I've never looked at it that
that's
close.
no, that's
Oh.
spot on.
that's a great
And,
observation.
I don't know. I remember
Oh yeah.
you just again say to reiterate, Dio's on a track,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I either couldn't get through the record to find that track, or I just couldn't find it,
Yeah,
and I was like,
it's late.
fuck this record,
But it's
I
a bad.
couldn't.
You can't. It's hard to hear him because he's mixed so low in the mix. The
Yeah.
guitar sounds really bad, and then you got him. Dio's doing 2 vocal tracks, and then
Okay.
Jeff Tate comes in and does a third. And I was expecting like orgasm. Like I got my Kleenex ready. I'm ready to go. And it was just I'm struggling to hear them. They don't complement one another. They clash. And I was like, oh fuck, what a disappointment. Just horrible disappointment. Yeah.
Well, you're all wrong, but we'll get there. So let's see. Moving on.
Yeah, I know. Slunkmeister and likes this album. We had we argued
We'll
at
get to
first about you always hate the mix. I
do have a much higher tolerance for bad mixes than you do, so that does open things up a little bit more.
Yeah,
for me.
you just got your taste is not refined as mine. That's why.
Is
Your
that what
palate-
it is? My
palate
palate
for
is.
your musical palate. There's like 2 colors. I am a Bob Ross of musical palate.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Number 11.
11 for me. The 1999 Q2K. This album, this was a continuation of the Here and the Now Frontier, the new Queensryche sound. But I'll have to give this one credit. They did it way better this time. There were some really good tracks on this album. Sacred Ground, When the Rain Comes, Beside You. The last one, Right Side of My Mind, one of those sort of atmospheric, fantastic songs. So, some misses in there too, but all in all, a way better effort than Here and the Now Frontier. They hit some good tracks on this one. And this was definitely without DeGarmo, right? So they managed to.
Kelly Gray was playing guitar. He actually produced the album too, I think. The producer.
And as far as I know, Tate mostly took over the songwriting after DeGarmo left, didn't he? I mean, it was pretty much him and DeGarmo.
I think it's still like it was still Chilton and
Wilton and Eddie Jackson.
Jackson, and then
Jackson,
and then
right.
Actually, Scott Rockenfeld wrote some stuff too, but I'm not sure how much Tate wrote on that one. So
yeah, all in all, I liked it a lot. Okay. Nothing else to add. How about you? Let's go to Chop Top. You're 11.
I agree with Slunkmeister Q2K.
Okay.
11. I felt though that it was definitely a step up here and now. It's a well-produced album, I thought. Still not what we've come to expect. You can tell already that they're missing DeGarmo, which is still the age-old. They went on for decades. Like Bring Christmas, it's over. It's done.
Right.
I thought Liquid Sky, Burning Man, like Slunkmeister said, Right Side of My Mind, very similar to Is There Anybody Listening, structure-wise, I thought, but just a powerful, epic song, and I enjoyed it a lot better.
Yeah.
A little bit of redemption, I think, for the new Queensryche on that album.
Yeah, and that album actually it's placed higher on my list, but that one started off lower than it did, and it kind of built up. For me over the more listening to I gave it, it actually got higher and higher. But my number 11 is Promised Land, which used to be higher for me than it charted now. And I mean, I like IMI, Damaged, Out of Mind, Bridge. Promised Land, I think, is the masterpiece of that record. It is so dark. The whole album is really kind of dark and full of a lot of pain. And especially in that song, there is an atmosphere to that song that is just kind of haunting and morose, and I like it. So, but it's compared to the songs that didn't quite make it. It came down to how many good songs or how many songs do I like on a given album, and how trying to rate each song to one another. And Promised Land has dropped a little bit over the years in the list, but I can still listen to Bridge. Is such a good song. It's one of those weepy. It's like the modern day Cats in the Cradle.
Agreed.
And then Promised Land. Someone Else, I think, is again. It's a haunting this ballad. So, it was higher on my list. It's fallen, but 11, Promised Land for me. Vic?
16.
Number 16.
No,
Promised Land. Okay.
no. To be honest, I should go back and check out. I remember Q2K. That's what it was called, right? That's
Yep.
the title. And I should recheck that out. I used to see a lot of these used, and I just passed them up because I had that hard line in the sand that Here in the Now is clearly something for me that was slipping. And there again, like to reiterate, not exploring. I didn't get too daring with my Queensryche. I knew what I liked, and that's where I stopped. So this is interesting to me to just sit back and kind of take this in because it makes me want to go back and be like, well, I'm gonna have to check that one out now. So this is fun for me, but I have nothing else. Again, my list is short, so we're just gonna bring it right back around.
Top 10.
Well, that's okay because once it's posted, then you can listen to our beautiful voices over and over again.
Right.
No, I know.
Help you get more educated about your number 16.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So yeah, it's 10 now. Yeah.
Yeah, top 10
Yeah, we're in the top 10. Slunkmeister.
Oh, I'm almost able to contribute here. I'm feeling
Okay.
good.
Getting close.
Okay. All right, Vic.
Okay, number 10 for me, 2003, Tribe. Another one of those sort of new Queensryche sound, but I don't know, this album, I really love it. This album had a spirituality to it. A lot of songs exploring different spirituality and stuff, and it really just, I don't know if it was at the time I was listening to it, there was something going on, but this album really spoke to me on a spiritual level that to this day, every time I listen to it, I get those same feelings. So it may be not the most, the best musically that Queensryche has ever done, but I think it was a depth to this with the songwriting and stuff that was fantastic. So yeah, that's definitely in my top 10.
I believe Jeff Tate actually he went on a little hiatus for a while, and he actually went into the desert, almost like a spiritual journey before they even wrote this. So if I recall, so yeah, there's definitely those themes that run throughout that. Agree.
Yeah, I agree. I like the album. There's far more good than not. So many of those good songs. The Great Divide, Rhythm of Hope, Tribe, I think is good.
Tribe, The Art of Life. Yeah.
Falling
Great
Behind,
stuff.
Desert Dance. It is the new sound of Queensryche, but it's complex. It's layered. And there's a lot going on to it. And
Yeah, it doesn't feel nearly as like phoned in as like Here in the Now Frontier. Just
Right.
like poppy songs to
There's
this was
substance.
much deeper.
There's a substance to this album that is really refreshing. It's nice.
That's definitely what sets it apart.
I agree.
So yeah, you're 10. Chop Top.
Tribe.
Okay.
The band self-produced it. In my opinion, probably the best singing by Tate, post-Promise material. Really strong. I thought his vocals were on that album. Some of my favorites: Open, Desert Dance, The Art of Life. It's definitely a step up, and production-wise, I thought it was solid. And Jeff is singing his ass off, I thought. So,
yeah, great return to form on this album.
I agree. It was actually my number 9 pick, so I get it right in there for all the same reasons. But my number 10 only because I just didn't know where to put it because I totally forgot. And it's only because it is the EP, but I have the 10 at the EP only because it's only 4 songs. And
that's unfair.
I mean, the songs are good. You get the sound of this band, and I'm like, when I look over my list, I'm like, wait, I can't put it up here. No, maybe because it does feel incomplete because it is an introduction. So I like the songs that are there. I mean, you get to hear Tate's voice. Lady Wore Black. I mean, it's a great couple songs, but it's only because it feels incomplete because it's not a full album. That's the only reason why I dropped it at 10. And then because I forgot to put it in my list at all, so I had to put it somewhere. So there's my number 10. That's it.
Nice. Well, I'll jump in because that's my 9. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, Queen of the Reich, Lady Wore Black, those are worth the price of admission right there. Those are album. That's the album. Whatever. I mean, what a intro to Queensryche. I mean, right off the bat, that high note, right off the bat,
Mhm.
on
Right.
Queen of the Reich sets the tone. Like, oh, who is this guy? Like,
Mhm.
That
holy
Right.
opening
shit,
riff and the drums
Yeah.
right in the beginning of that.
this
Yeah.
guy is special. Yeah. So
And it was such
number
a
9
unique
for me.
sound. I mean, that's what was great about
Mhm.
Queensryche. I never
Correct.
their sound was so unique.
Yep.
And like to this day, I still don't know another band that really kind of sounds like them. So, kudos. They're definitely not the cookie cutter.
Very true. Yeah.
Right.
That's not easy to do.
No,
Right.
not in the modern
To
era
come
of
up with
corporate
something
rock.
unique. Yeah.
So kudos to them, man.
hmm So yeah, that'll move us to Chop
Chop
Top.
Top.
You're 9. You're number
Number
9.
9, Queensryche self-titled album. I know it's a little higher than you guys, but my reasons for it's the first with Latore. It's short, but I think it was definitely fine for introducing Todd as a new singer, new voice. Return to form in some ways. Highlights were Where Dreams Go to Die, Spore, In the Slight, Redemption, and Fallout. And actually, this was, I talked about earlier, I thought released the same year as in response to Jeff Tate's Frequency Unknown.
hmm
So it's like they're going through that battle, like, oh, you're going to put that
Yeah.
out. Well, we're going to put this out.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but I really
They certainly
enjoyed
did it better, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I definitely,
yeah.
I definitely enjoy it. Like I said, Latore is, wow. Yeah, the voice is back. Like where it was lacking, so many of the
Yeah.
latter tape material, it just, when they found this guy, this is like diamond in the rough.
Yeah, I'd
Brilliant.
mentioned before that I kind of fell off. I hadn't listened to the newer Queensryche stuff, and when I popped this album on, I thought I was listening to Jeff Tate. I was several tracks in. It was a couple times. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that note in a while. And
Yeah.
then I've started looking this up. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm getting my
Yeah.
list down. I'm like, it took me a minute to wrap my head around that this wasn't Jeff Tate. I mean, just
Yeah, we're not
the
listening
way
to
he
Don
enunciates
Dokken,
certain
right? Yeah.
things.
Right.
Yeah, just incredible. So yeah, this album was 14 for me, but this is one of those that might move up the more I listen to it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oftentimes an album you're trying to cram and you're listening to it and everything blends together and it takes a few listens for the
Mhm.
songs to sort of separate themselves.
Right.
And,
So,
and
yeah.
the solos are fantastic. There's a lot of great guitar work, and it's classic Queensryche guitar work.
Right.
The
Yes.
melodies, because they have a certain sound to their distortion, and they also have a certain, I would say, solo range. It's certain sounds and patterns that are definitely Queensryche. They kind of brought those back in. It felt like that.
Yeah,
too,
with the
so-
harmonies with Wilton and Parker Landry.
Yeah,
the guitar. I mean, yeah, you have that class. I agree with you. There's that classic sound there. That's that dual harmony stuff that Wilton and DeGarmo had for so many years. That magic.
Yeah. Didn't you catch his pick, Chop Top, at the Queensryche show? It says I'm banging Jeff Tate's daughter. Or was that you, Chopped or Slunkmeister?
No, I didn't. It wasn't not me.
Was that you, Chop Top? I remember, or maybe it was someone around us. We went to see them at the show.
Yeah.
I remember
was
seeing
somebody
his
around.
pick,
Wow.
and it
Said
said on
I'm
the back
banging
like
Jeff
I
Tate's
think it was like I'm banging Jeff Tate's daughter or something like that. I'm like, oh man, that Jesus Christ, man,
Getting ugly.
Like,
Everybody's getting aroused. Look out.
Wow.
This was his first, his first tour with the band. I'm like, oh, hey, because I think they were married, right? Or they were maybe, I don't know what they were.
Yeah,
But anyway.
well, they were engaged, and then they broke that off.
Oh, okay. So, oof. Well,
Somebody else is banging Jeff Tate's daughter.
Yeah, they got the picks now.
yeah. And we all know my number 9 was Tribe. So we've already talked about that. So I'll pass it on to Vic. You got anything more? Any other thing you want to talk about in your Sweet 16?
No, I'm still just hanging in that weird short list area. I'm coming up here. I'm coming up here soon. Only a couple more rounds, and
number
I can
8.
finally...
Number 8.
Yeah.
Number 8, Condition Human. By far the best Tateless Queensryche. This one really captured classic Reich.
Mm-hmm.
The power, some of the soaring vocals. Awesome album. I mean, this one really kind of floored me. I wasn't expecting this at all when I listened to this. And this is definitely one I'll go back to a lot. So I haven't given it a ton of listens, but yeah, this one grabbed me right off the bat. Awesome album. Some of the best Queensryche I've heard in many years, honestly.
All right.
So yeah, that's 8 for me. Chop Top.
Yeah, number 8, The Verdict. I thought it was pretty impressive because not only is Latore a brilliant singer, but he's a very accomplished drummer as well. He did all the drum tracks. And granted, go to Montag and the mixing of them, fucking sucks. But yeah, he's a very accomplished drummer. It's the third album with Todd, the most recent. I love the songs Blood of Little Vaunt and The Machine, Dark Reveries, great, Bent, Launder to Conscience, love it. It just reminds me of Rage at times, Rage for Order at times, just a little bit. I'm not saying, nothing's going to touch that, but there's just shades of it for me throughout the album.
It's like something gotten reinvigorated in them.
Mm-hmm.
They remembered who they were, and they tried to bring that sound into a more modern era, in a way.
Yeah.
And the interviews I'd read with them said that they were all really feeling really creative again, and stuff like that. So maybe there was something to that tension when it's relieved, and the band can start gelling as a band and start going back to who they were. So, I fully acknowledge that part of my reason why I may not like those albums as much is because it's not Jeff Tate. So I have to unscrew my own bias. So I totally get it. I'm willing to.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
He's so close that I could throw this on a playlist and not really worry about it. Whether it's Tate or Latore, I don't care.
Right.
It's so close.
It is. It is close. I know. I think it's just partly the knowing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like every band in the world is comprised of old members and new members. I mean, there's only two original members in Queensryche left, two original members in Slayer left, two original members in Iron Maiden. So but you cannot think of Iron Maiden without the current lineup. I mean, it's just like you couldn't replace them in a way. Like, nope, it's Nico. He's the drummer.
Right.
It's just so I'm not worried about that. People are bitching about it's a little Queensryche cover band. I'm like, no, this just happens. This happens in bands, and you continue on because it's
just when it's the singer, it's the biggest deal.
It is because
it changes everything.
It is. It's the sound of the band. It's the sound of the words you hear, and when it doesn't fit, like we know with Maiden, it all falls apart. So I so. For my number 8, I had American Soldier. It's not a great album, but there are enough songs in there that I like, but I cannot listen to it. It's a somber album. It's a sober album because of the subject matter. And
it's heart-wrenching.
It is. And so I have to give it respect, but it's like Memorial Day. I can't listen to that album and 100 Mile Stare. Yeah, fuck yeah. It's just like you hear it and you just want to cry. Like songs like If I Were King just make me want to sob. Coming Home or Home Again. Just bawl your eyes out. And when Chop Top and I saw them on that tour, everybody was crying in the audience when he brings his daughter out and they're doing that Home Again song. We're just sobbing like kids because we know the subject matter. There's so much gravitas to the subject matter, and that's really why I put it up there. It's an important album, but one I listened to again. It just tore my heart out. It's like, oh God. But I have to appreciate why they did it. But it's a hard album to listen to, man. Really.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my number 8. Vic, Sweet 16. I know you got your Sweet 16.
Hey man, I'm like an intern, right? That's what I feel like right now. The asshole doesn't fucking know the subject matter as well as I didn't realize that there were this many Queensryche records. To be honest, I knew the recent releases. Because I mean, I've been at least there, but man, there's like a bunch in the 90s. I guess I was not in early 2000s that I'm just totally oblivious to, so it's just Sweet 16. And only because I guess I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. I'll feel a little bit of that when we next coming shows, because I'm just not well versed in those bands. So I will feel like I have my favorites that I've listened to for years.
Right.
But the other stuff I'm like, what do I do with this? So I get it, man. It's cool.
That's the assignment. You will listen. You will listen.
I'm learning.
That's the beauty of doing something like this. You get back into these things and you have to brush up and,
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Like rediscovering these bands, some of the in a ways like. And I'm looking forward to doing bands like Metal Church and stuff. It's like, because there's like 6 albums of theirs. I didn't know they had out. So that's
I was
something
the
like
same.
all
Like,
new
what?
listings.
They did
Yeah.
something after the dark. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Look that up.
yes.
They got
Oh,
Mike Howe
right,
back in the
yeah.
band.
I've got a
and
lot
boy,
to listen to.
they're firing
Right,
all
That's
cylinders.
awesome, dude.
Really good stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're number 7. We're down to number 7.
7. Yeah, 7 for me is Promised Land. Yeah, I don't know what else we can say about this.
Mhm.
This is kind of like you can almost hear a transition from old to new Queensryche here, but this is still, classic Queensryche to me. Maybe
Mhm.
their last, classic Queensryche album, but yeah, dark, very moody. A
Mhm.
little hard to listen to at times because of that.
Yeah.
It's not a, you're not gonna be
Not a happy
happy.
album.
Listen, not a
No.
happy
No.
album at all.
No.
But great nonetheless. Great album.
Mhm.
So yeah, 7 for me. Chop top.
7 for me
Number
is
7.
Condition Human. This is the best, in my opinion, like Slunkmeister said with Latore era. I just think that the production's fantastic. Zeus Harris did it, who worked with Rob Zombie and many others. Very full, heavy. Arrow of Time, Guardian, classic, progressive Queensryche. Hellfire is killer riff and
Hellfire,
vocal.
awesome
Mhm.
song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome song.
Bulletproof, and also awesome, almost like mid-paced kind of ballad, but just
Mhm.
soaring
Mhm.
vocals by Latore on that. I-9 and Hourglass are the highlights. So,
Yeah.
really enjoy that.
I'm going to pick. This is controversial. My number 7 is Frequency Unknown. It does not sound like
Whoa.
Queensryche at all. I know. I could see your chopped on face, like, oh, I'm not friends with you anymore. Wow. And here's why. What I like about it, there's a couple songs on here because I know it's not Queensryche, but it's got a great song. I would rather have this been a Jeff Tate solo album, which it was. I would have been much happier with it. But the songs I really like. I like Cold. I think it's a great rockin' album. It sounds like the album that Queensryche tried to do earlier with like distorted guitars. It didn't sound like Queensryche, but the song I like Dare, Slave especially. But the song I love and I could listen to 50 times a day is In the Hands of God. There is something about that wailing quality when he's belting out these notes, and it's a haunting song. It's a terrifying song, and the music that builds up with it, that guitar almost sounds like a sitar or something. It's a very emotionally powerful song. So and I know it's controversial, but the power of those songs kind of lifted up to number 7 for me. Although I would not consider it a Queensryche, but it's still a solid representation for me.
I'll have to revisit it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes me want to sit down and give it another listen, maybe.
Yeah.
If you just have to suspend yourself
it a
saying
chance.
it's not Queensryche, it's cool,
Right.
but especially In the Hands of God, it is it's like, wow, this is really, and you could hear elements like if Queensryche was doing these songs, because there's some like the kind of the background chantings that Queensryche always does, like in Take Hold of Flame and stuff. You hear these elements like Jeff Tate in some of these songs was really, I think, trying to give a Queensryche sound with a whole new band of guys. But don't expect it to sound Queensryche. But I think there were times where he's really trying to get it his version of Queensryche. So that's number 7, man. Number 7.
All
Give
right.
it another chance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Vic, we are at number 6, man. Now
Hey,
you
look
can
at
chime
that.
in.
Number
Not
6.
16,
Well, since we've-
6,
About damn
baby.
time you
Six.
did something.
I know. I've been resting
It's
over
Vic
here.
6. Maybe
Yep.
you should just come in at 6
Yeah,
every week.
yeah. It's just that's my time.
Vic
Drop in,
6,
bam,
yeah.
there's my 6. It's here in the now frontier, and only because I've already said this a million times, I'll just keep it short. That is where I stopped collecting Queensryche, because I got that record and I was like, this isn't what I was hoping it'd be. But there were apparently some redeeming qualities. It's been a while since I actually listened to the record, but I kept it. Again, I kept it. I didn't get rid of it like my younger self did when I absolutely hated a record. So there must be something on there that, I thought was worthy of staying in my music collection, which, I went through a period where I had to have everything. And then I went through a period where I don't need the garbage. So I was going for full discographies. And then I started being like, nah, this record's really terrible and I really don't want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. So it stuck around in my collection. And that's my number 6. And it's just there out of happenstance. I bought it and it didn't suck to me apparently, so I hung on to it. And we've all covered every outlet of it. It's been well covered, well versed here. So on to you,
You're welcome.
Slunkmeister.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing all my work for you. All the heavy lifting's done.
So yeah, number 6 for me. Mindcrime 2. Operation Mindcrime 2 is number.
You sick bastard.
I like this album. Like, I mean, yeah. First of all, you endeavor to follow up Operation Mindcrime. Impossible.
Yeah, right.
It's a tough call.
Foregone conclusion that you
know,
can't
how do you do that? Yeah, you're not going to do it. So that aside, I listen to this a lot. I like every track. Maybe one or two that I don't. I like every track on this album. The mix sucks. I'm with you there. I can live with a bad mix. The mix is pretty damn bad, which is a shame because I think it does disjustice to the album, which I think is strong. The story's not as good as Mindcrime, but I think it's solid. You know, this sort of follow up. It's a solid story. Yeah, I don't know. I even liked Dio's part in there. I didn't think it was as bad as you thought either. So I don't know what else to say about this album. I like it. I think the songs are catchy as to where, you know, Here and the Now Frontier, stuff like that is just, you know, a lot of the songs are just, they don't grab you, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. Mindcrime 2, man. It's a good album. It's
Wild
a damn
card.
good album.
You can hear the crickets. Okay.
And the fact that they
Sorry,
did this
Slunkmeister.
with all, you know, they did all this with studio musicians. Tate wrote almost every bit of this album himself.
That's true. Respect for that.
You know, yeah, it comes through, and so the mix is so inconsistent. A few of the tracks sound really nice, really
Yeah,
rich,
there's like
good,
3
good
that sound
quality
good.
mix, and then you hit some other ones that are just
Right.
inconsistent there, and it throws you off a little bit. But
You think that some
I'd
engineer
like
would
to-
be able to fix it to a degree to get synthesis? Like, okay, was the drummer playing trash can lids or did he have real cymbals here? Right? Are you sure? Right, I get it, man.
I don't know. I think it captured some of the original Mindcrime stuff. I think it got the vibe in a lot of ways.
There are times a couple of the songs do. I agree with you. You know, and like, I love the songs with Sweet Sister Mary. I think those were fantastic.
Yeah, and honestly, I listened to that album more than Promised Land, or I mean some of these other ones. So
cool.
Yeah, standing my ground. Mindcrime.
All right, good for you. Hey, you could be wrong. That's all right, man.
No accounting for taste.
Number 6, Chop
6
Top.
for you.
Chop Top. I chose Promised Land. It's my number 6. It's dark, aggressive, more so than Empire. I think it took a lot of people back because it was, you know, obviously after Empire. IMI, Damaged, Bridge, very personal to me. I love Bridge. The title track. Also, Tate played saxophone in the title track, which I thought was really interesting. And actually,
Tate
sounds
played that
really
sax,
good.
huh?
It actually blends really nice in that. Yes, Tate played saxophone now.
Because he plays saxophone on American Soldier too. When you hear the saxophone,
that's right. Disconnected, One More Time, and Someone Else. That's a great close. A lot of times with Queensryche albums, at least the earlier stuff, their last songs were very powerful and epic. They closed out an album. They knew how to close out an album.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
I agree.
So yeah, that's my number 6.
All right. My 6 is Q2K. That started real low, and the more I listen to it, the better I like it. And then we've talked about it to death, but I love Falling Down and Sacred Ground. One Life, I think, is great. When the Rain Comes, right side of my mind. You know, it just does. It's the new sound of Queensryche, but some of those songs just again, it's a more consistent album than like Here and the Now Frontier or some of the other albums, and that's really why it rose up. Is because there's more songs that I like after listening to it for 20 years than some of the other albums that came out.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it's up. So number 6 is Q2K for me.
all right.
Excellent. 5.
Top 5. We are top 5.
5. Getting down there.
What?
Rage
What do we
Rage
got?
for Order is mine, and I think that, you know, was it Walk in the Shadows? I mean, everybody, you know, this is not, it's a fan. It overshadows the whole record for me. when I bought it, that's the song. It's like, oh, this song's so good, and the rest of it kind of fizzes away for me because I'm not like a super duper Queensryche fan, but that is a standout track, and not because you hear it on the radio all the time or anything along those lines. It's a stellar track. It sticks with you. Aside from that, the art was okay, but I want to talk about. Let's talk about the really bizarre clothing. I thought they looked really bizarre on this record. It always that's what sticks with me more than anything from
The
that album.
haircuts.
The crazy haircuts, the shoulders. They got them real, like I don't know, Star Trek-ish villain shoulders going on there.
Yeah, some of those early Queensryche stuff was cringy.
They were trying to find their sound. I mean, I compare that to you look on the back of 2112. Okay, you see Rush in their nightgowns, dressed up like they're going to a swingers party with the Golden Girls.
We all go through that awkward phase.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to
That was definitely because I thought they looked cool when they started. They had like some kind of weird, like almost steampunk Ghostbusters vibe on. I don't know. I swear I recall like Warning stuff. They kind of looked like, I don't know, some kind of Wasteland Warriors or something.
I don't know what they. I don't know. Warriors stage.
Yeah, and then they were Raging for Order, and there was just some futuristic sci-fi outfits that just really wasn't.
They were raging for fashion, not order.
Yeah. My guess that someone at the record company said, "Here, you're gonna look like this."
It could be.
I think it was probably a push by the record company. I bet.
I think you guys you're being too soft on them. I think they totally wanted to wear those really bizarre.
That was all totally their choice.
Yeah.
Well, you watch you watch the live in Tokyo concert from 1984. They weren't dressed like that. So
now you're telling me they're posers. They should have done that to rock that outfit whole time. No, but that's my number 5. It's a great album, and it builds up to something. They were clearly on a trajectory that we'll get to in all of our top 2, 3, number 1 slots. So
right, all right, cool.
All right, yeah, 5 for me. 5 for me. American Soldier. I agree with you, Montag, that it is hard to listen to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I can't. There's just days I can't. I don't want to get that emotion. This album grabs me every single time I listen to it. It is emotionally draining to get through this whole thing, but I love the album. I mean, I like every track on it. I think it's a great tribute to soldiers and some of the brutal things they have to go through and deal with in their lives, and I think they really captured it really well on this album from top to bottom. I think it's a great tribute to American soldiers, and
right, it doesn't gloss over, allows them to speak that and for themselves, and then musical tribute. Yeah, it's a powerful album. It is, no doubt about it.
Kind of like Tribe was, it was the new Queensryche sound, but it was something deeper. They were getting back into they weren't trying to make pop songs. They were making early stuff.
I don't know one song you could put on the radio that would be like considered poppy. It's all too intense, too heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that album.
Yeah, good.
American Soldier. Top. You're 5.
All right, my number 5, Empire. Huge career-changing album for 3 million copies plus sold just in the States alone. I felt that they were really reaching their pinnacle as songwriters all together. It's just a perfect storm, gelled together very nicely. Best I Can, Thin Line, Jet City Woman, Empire, Resistance, Silent Lucidity. It's Pink Floyd, but it works. Anybody listening, another song right there. It was a great way to finish off an album. And they always had a lot of early stuff. That final song that just
it's always good. It's always good.
Really, I agree. Bookend. Start with a strong song, finish with a strong song. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. My number 5 is the Condition Human, which we've talked about, because I think it is
nice.
Really, even though it's the new Queensryche, it is new old Queensryche. It is, and we've all talked about it. I mean, they hate the drum sound. But it is overproduced. But the songs are amazing. Guardian, Hellfire, Condition Human, again, dark. This whole longer, almost 8-minute song, So yeah, we've talked about it to death. Number 5 for me, Condition Human. How about you, Vic? Number 5. Oh, you
He did
started it
5.
off. That's right.
Yeah.
So now we're at number 4 for you.
I mean, I know I can't count, but I'm pretty sure we're on 4. No,
We're not
number
at
4 for
16 anymore, so that's okay.
No, yeah,
That's right.
we're in numbers that I can contribute to here.
Numbers you can count on one hand.
Exactly. The only way to do it.
Which one?
One-handed.
Hands up.
Hands up.
It's the EP for me. It's Queensryche. Because again, this was touched on earlier. You know, here comes this band that sounds like nothing else out there. And you know, the song, you know, Queen of the Reich and The Lady Wore Black. Of course, you keep coming back to these. There's only a couple songs on there, but still, it's an impactful EP. And you know, yeah, it would have been cool. Yeah, it would have been cool if it would have been a full length. But you know, I don't know the circumstances as to why a band chooses an EP first. If it's just a kind of a hurry up and get something out kind of thing, you know, and
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. No, you're right. Yeah, it's so I think that it's so strong, you know, because it was so different, you know, it was so unique, and I think that's what earned it its place. Now, I don't actually own the thing. That's one that I've sought out and just I don't know. I go through weird phases of collecting, so it hasn't actually made it in here. I think that, you know, when they remaster them, they expanded it. It's probably expanded. I think when it got remastered, there's probably more stuff on there, bonus materials, kind of making it a full length. There, Montag. See, if you got the remastered version, it would have been a full length's worth of music, and that could have changed its slot.
I do have the remastered version.
See, there you go. It should.
He hates the drum sound. Go figure.
It must be what it is. Terrible mix. But yeah, no, I think it's very powerful, and it really set the pace for that band. You know, they were openers from what I gather for a long time in their career, and you know, that's a powerful band right there with those vocals and those guitar riffs going on, and that's the things that, you know, me personally, that's what I do. Those are the things I kind of, you know, gravitate towards when I listen to music, you know, so it's the vocals and the melodies and the guitar riffs and the hooks, and I think that was a very powerful start. So that's why it's got number 4 in my list.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. So, okay. 4 for me. Chop Top, I'm with you. Empire. I think as far as mix and production value, this was cream of the crop. This was their best. I mean, the production quality on this is absolutely perfect. Spot on. Do you agree, Montag, or the drums? Or the
Are
drums?
they up to snuff?
Is air crisp enough with the ride symbol?
It's fine. My notes for this
just
was
fine.
It's the prettiest album until the Latort record comes out. It's a really beautifully
It's
mixed
pretty.
album. It is. It's a pretty album. I'm telling you.
Is that an insult? Is that one of those backhanded
No.
compliments?
It's not an insult. I mean, as you notice,
He's
we
talking
haven't
about their
mentioned Empire
fashion
in my
on Rage
list
for
yet.
Order. They're pretty.
No, it is a beautiful sounding album, and which we'll be discussing soon. But no, I agree. I think the mix is lovely.
There we go.
Lovely there, Slunkmeister.
Yeah, great album. I mean, this is a good one to just kind of throw on some headphones and just kick back and listen to this thing start to finish. It's just ear candy all the way through. To me, just sounds great. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Chop Top, you're 4.
My number 4. I'm with Vic. Their self-titled EP. Released 83. I got the remastered edition, and it's so nice because it includes Tokyo, the whole concert, like the video. Such one of the best live concerts ever.
Oh, it's great.
Sound, everything. So that was a nice bonus with it. Queen of the Reich, you know, we talked. Classic anthem. Lady Wore Black. Not crazy about the production, though, but again, this was an 83, so there's some limitations. Obviously, production and other things came a long way at that time, but just an introduction. That opening riff, Queen of the Reich, I mean, that's just, I could listen to that. Never get tired of that.
Yeah.
It's my number 4.
My number 4 is The Warning, and because it continues where the EP left off, you know, and it has that same kind of sound. And a lot of great songs. I mean, Enforce,
tons.
Deliverance, No Sanctuary, NM156, Take Hold of the Flame, Roads to Madness. I mean, these are just epic songs, especially Take Hold of the Flame. I mean, you hear Jeff Tate hit that note, that E5, it's like,
that is a
that's
a
it's like,
legendary moment.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's just, it's impossible to not just play that album to death. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget how good it is until I listen to it. I mean, I hear certain songs like, oh yeah, Take Hold of the Flame, or I remember the first time I saw them, it was on the Empire tour, and they played Roads to Madness. I'm like, oh, and that was just such a good album, from top to bottom, and so there's my number 4.
Great choice.
That is
Yeah,
my number 3
totally.
for pretty much all those same reasons. The Warning is my number 3 for exactly what Montag just said, and so it's a solid record. It's right where it needed to be. Falling in line, following up the EP, everything was all the pieces, parts are there for a band that you're gonna want to stick around, and you're gonna want to follow. I mean, it's and they might have even improved on their methods, ever so slightly, from the EP to the Warning. I mean, I think it is a slight progression in styling and whatnot, but all of that. The songs that are amazing on that record are more than the ones that aren't, and I always liked that one.
Yeah, same. Warning, number 3 for me also. So, what else can you say? And
here's where we gel.
Yeah, this is. I might add too, the remaster of this is fantastic.
Yeah,
it really it added some real depth and some power. It was kind of a thin album originally, 1984, I think. So
right, yeah,
production qualities weren't
Mhm.
all that, but yeah, punched it up nicely. So yeah, the remaster of this is really, really good.
I'll have to
Great
check that.
album.
I don't have the remaster. I'll have to
Check it out. Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
awesome. Chop Top.
Notice
Here's
the snare sound is very much like
No
electric.
surprise. Oh, sorry. No surprise. My number 3 is Warning as well. I
nice.
just,
Nice.
I think it's actually the first time I heard Queensryche was when that album came.
Okay.
Oh, check it. Cool album cover art. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. Got it on cassette. And it was great. But everything you guys already said about it, I think I heard Deliverance actually on a first heard on a compilation, one of those like K-Tel presents, Metal Masters, and had like fucking Y&T on it and Queensryche Deliverance.
Yes.
But
Y&T.
that was when I was first. I'm like, what is this? Deliverance. I heard that riffing, his voice, and that was that's all it said to me. So just and Roads to Madness is just epic.
Oh yeah.
So number 3, Warning.
All right, my number 3 is Empire. So what more do you want to say? I think my favorite song on the track might be Della Brown. Just because I love the sound. I love the guitar, that shimmery chorus. Anybody listening, again, wow, it's just so many great songs. Resistance, that's what they opened with on that tour.
It's just such a smooth sounding album. It's got a smoothness to it.
Right. It was like they finally got a different producer, because I see their first 3 albums being very similar in sound.
Yeah.
Then there was a breakthrough, and then they got like clean and smooth. Like, here we've made it.
Finally aged wine.
Right. Exactly.
Blended.
So, Empire. Number 3.
Very nice.
Number 2 for me. Empire is number 2 for me. Empire is a special record for me. That was my introduction to Queensryche. Working in a shop, Dad had the cassette. He says, you got to check this band out. And of course, I'd heard Jet City Woman. I love Jet City Woman. Who doesn't love Jet City Woman?
Yeah.
But to hear the rest of the album and expand on it with and not just every track's like in your face, because Silent Lucidity and what have you, but just cool stuff, man. That album stuck with me for a long time, and for a long time was in just regular rotation in my yearly listening thing. I'm going to throw that on, because Resistance and all that sort of stuff. And that one stuck with me. I do. That's my number 2. And that was I didn't think it got better than that at the time. So it's a great record. Production wise, probably, like everyone's saying, probably their best thing that they've done. And up to that, again, I can't comment after a certain point because I fell off the whole thing. So, but
You can trust us.
yeah, I do. But yeah, I mean,
You
up
can
to
keep
that
listening
point,
to
like
this episode over and over again, and you can go back.
right, I'm gonna just get it ingrained.
That's the magic of this group right here.
Right. You could tell though they were making the cash. I mean, they were doing well for themselves, and it shows on that record. The creativity was there, the production was there, and this was a band at the top of their game.
True.
So it definitely earned its high spot on my list. Slunkmeister, you are up.
Number 2, Rage for Order, 1986. Yeah, this kind of just builds off the Warning. This one, to me, is even better. It's a little more refined, more mature, I think, but just as powerful. I mean, Tate is solidifying his legacy. He's, at this point, everybody knows that Jeff Tate's one of the greatest. Walk in the Shadows, The Whisper, New Regal, London, I Will Remember. Just goosebumps throughout this whole album.
Yeah.
Again, another great mix, I think. Again, another really good remaster as well. I like this album from top to bottom. Just awesome, classic, good, early 90s. Good stuff.
Well, mid 80s, 86.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're in the 80s still.
Yeah.
Good. So, yeah, number 2. Chop Top.
All right. My number 2 is the same as the Slunkmeister. Everything he said, I agree upon. I thought it was ahead of its time. Maybe their most progressive album they did in their career. A Walk in the Shadows, Dreaming Infrared, Whisper, Killing Words, New Girl, Screaming in Digital. And they close out it again, a quieter song, but I Will Remember. And I really like that one too. It's a nice moody piece. That just kind of, it's one of those you could listen on to a headphone.
And again, all supporting their costumes of the day. All supporting, I Scream and I Dream and Infrared.
With his white boy kid and play look, going on, whatever his hair's going.
Screaming in Digital. Yeah, this is a very science fiction, very sophisticated, futuristic endeavor here. You have to look the part.
Right. Yeah,
Their Romulan record.
Right. And Scott Rockenfeld had a really cool cymbal setup. He actually had the cymbal stands were chains. I think that had been kind of
nice.
bent around. Really so his cymbal stands were made of like.
Didn't they have that on Mindcrime as well?
Very well could have been. I mean, when you go to the trouble to make new cymbal stands on a chain link, you're going to keep them for a couple tours.
Yeah, it's going to be in there for a while.
Yeah, it could have been. Very well could have been. That's my number 2 as well. I mean, it's just at one of their best albums. Had it not done number 1, this would be number 1. It's a great album, and it still stands up 35 years later as just a solid, progressive, heavy rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and it is moody and atmospheric, like The Whisper and Gonna Get Close to You. It's kind of got that creepy vibe. There's a little bit of that electronica, weird stuff, going on, and I liked how they played with the kind of synth sounds and the electronic sounds mixing in with the traditional stuff. It works. It all works well. And so, Rage for Order.
Yeah, without being cheesy. You could go real cheesy with that easily.
Right. Except the soloing Gonna Get Close to You doesn't fit for me. That's the only thing, because it's like too bright and happy compared to everything else. It's like all of a sudden, like, now we're playing in major notes and chords. Like, no. It was so dark. That was the only thing that stands out.
It doesn't help that it comes after The Whisper too, which is one of the darker, heavier songs, and you got then Gonna Get Close to You. It's like, wait a minute.
But that's it. I mean, the rest of the song is so great, and I love the Killing Words and Chemical Youth and London, Screaming in Digital. My God,
you're right. I agree.
Yeah, but that solo, it's like, can you no, we gotta fix that one. But other than that, man, great album, as we all know. Yeah,
great.
You throw me a bone. Thanks, Slunkmeister.
Sure. Yeah. I think we all have the same number 1.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Unveil it.
Obviously, Operation Mindcrime. So Operation Mindcrime for me is a Desert Island record. I listen to that record at least once a year, if not 10 times a year. It's amazing start to finish. The weird stuff and all the all the little bits and pieces and monologue in there. Everything is just, because concept records are either awesome or horrible. There's no in between with a concept record. You either do it right or you don't do it right at all, and it's a miserable failure. And they did this right. It's great because when I first heard this record, again, I was Empire. It doesn't get better than Empire. And I'm with some guy and he goes, "Man, you ever heard Operation Mindcrime?" I'm like, "No, please put it in." Blown away immediately, man. I think Spreading to the Disease might be my favorite track on it. Outside the radio, there was a lot of hits off of it too. I mean, a lot of standout tracks that were played on the radio. Everything is so good, start to finish. Solid record, cool ass storyline. That's a pinnacle record, man. And imagine living in that shadow as those individuals. Like, that's a monumental record. That's a tough one to live up to. And I mean, I think they did a good job with Empire, but man, as far as I'm concerned, nothing touches Operation Mindcrime in their discography.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's
totally 100%.
To me, it's one of the best albums, period, ever of
Right.
all time. I think you could put it, you could compare it favorably to The Wall or any other of these. It's a legendary album, and it flows perfectly throughout. You never get bored with this album,
right?
A lot of concept albums, you'll have those down moments of where they're doing something atmospheric to build some kind of mood, but they do some of that here, like in Sweet Sister Mary, maybe, but it works,
Yeah.
And they just hit a perfect pace with this album.
Yeah.
And every single track. Awesome.
Yeah, I had
Awesome,
Perfection
awesome.
written down for in my notes, and just I think my favorite song off there, I like them all, but I think The Mission, maybe my favorite one. It's like how it starts and then it kicks you, right? It starts picking up the pace.
That driving
Of course,
beat.
Eyes of a Stranger.
I mean,
when MTV used to play the videos, actually played music videos, right?
Right.
They played the shit out of that.
Yes, they did.
It was
Eyes of a
awesome.
Stranger was on all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. And man. But yeah, definitely career changing for them. And wow, my favorite concept album.
I'm with you. Operation Mindcrime and Slunkmeister, I agree that this might be one of the best albums of all time, just top to bottom. When I first heard this album, it took me a couple listening to it. At first, I didn't like it. I'm like, because I'd never heard of these guys. I'm like, what? But then by the third listen, I'm like, oh, okay, there's something.
Starting to get it.
Yeah, it was. It was coming into me like, and I love the story, the guitars. It was heavy. It was aggressive. It was also melodic and beautifully written and haunting and emotional. And Sweet Sister Mary is my favorite track. It just because you get that sound. Whether you could hear them, this during the second verse, you get that. It's just that drums, midnight. She sings praises in the hall. It just echoes, and I know it's a gimmick. It's a special effect. But in my mind, I'm in this giant church. I can hear it, and the lyrics are just so good. About how he on his knees he fed of my barrel of death, or he turned the holy water red. Like, oh my god, it's so powerful.
Yeah, they paint a picture. They do a very good job painting a picture.
Just like this, setting up these characters that you cared about. This story comes complete circle, and it is just phenomenal. And Jeff Tate, I think, does not sound better anywhere else. Than this album consistently, and that's what this album does. It's not like, I mean, every album has a couple songs that are good, and some have a lot of good solid songs or great songs. Every fucking song in this album is excellent.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right on.
That's the thing. It's what makes this album so good in rock and roll music. It is maybe one of the 10 best albums of all time. I would argue.
I would go to bat with this album any day.
Yeah. So Vic,
there it is.
There it is. Any more last words from you?
No, I don't. I could just, my list could just consist of Operation Mindcrime. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I think we've said it all.
I think we have.
Great.
All right.
Great band. One of my favorites.
So thank you, Queensryche, for all your many years of music, and we love you. So don't take our criticisms too bad. Some of the songs, some of the albums deserve it, but that's okay. Can't be 100% perfect. You can't all be Operation Mindcrimes. But
I apologize
for the fucking dumpster fire comment.
They're
now
gonna show up at our house. Here comes someone gonna punch us.
I got
So-
punched by Jeff Tate.
That's right.
I'd,
And I
I'd
love
do
it.
that.
So, all
Get
right.
the FU ring on.
Yeah, that's right. You've been listening to Montag, Master of Illusion.
Chop top.
Slunkmeister.
And Vic.
And this has been Heavy
Heavy
Metal, Horror.